Good morning, or depending on when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told, I had a voice radio. So today, I am showing you a new Dustox card, which is going to be coming out in Sun and Moon 7A Thunderclap Spark over in Japan. And it's got a really nice ability. It has been revealed and translated by the lovely David Hochmann over at Rappelman TCG. And it's something which we're going to try and make work, but there are a couple of cards that we don't have which are going to hinder. Although, interestingly enough, Japan's standard format has both of these cards at the moment, so maybe go over to Japan and play it there. Now, it is a grass Pokemon, which means you're hitting weakness on stuff like Lycanroc and Lapras, which is very nice indeed. And it's got 140 HP, which is actually very low. The average nowadays is 160. Think something like a Dragonite. So we don't like 140. 140 is lower than we'd like. Similarly, retreat cost of 2 means you don't get free retreat with Escape Board. And with Floatstone rotating, that is going to be the thing we're trying to use to rotate. And the weakness to fire really isn't that bad. Fire is just not a great type at the moment. I did show you Victini earlier today, which I think could be legitimately good. If Victini becomes good, that's bad for Dustox. Otherwise, I think weakness-wise, you're probably looking okay. And there aren't that many great tricks with grass Pokemon at the moment. You got stuff like the Promo Lurantis to do a bit of extra damage. But honestly, you ain't going to use them. No, ladies and gentlemen, it's all about the ability here. And the ability says that when you play this card from your hand to evolve one of your Pokemon, you may use this ability. The defending Pokemon is now paralyzed and poisoned. Put 3 damage counters on for poison between turns, rather than 1. Paralysis and treble poison from an ability is good. Now, quick ruling query as we start. It is when you play it from your hand. That means if you used Rare Candy, it would still work. But if you were to use something like an Evo Soda or similar, it would not work because then you're evolving it from the deck. You're not evolving it from your hand. Similarly, the translation we have from David at the moment is that it can be used on the bench. You don't have to be active to use this ability, unlike some of the really good abilities we've had lately. So that in and of itself is pretty gosh darn nice. And look, Paralysis is great. Paralysis says that the defending Pokemon cannot attack or retreat, and it lasts for 1 turn. When their turn's over, they're no longer paralyzed, it goes away. This forces them to have something to get out of the active, or they're just wasting a turn. The bad news is, and we've said this a couple of times lately, I expect Escape Board to see a huge spike in play after rotation. I mean, go and look at how many of the top deck lists at the moment are playing Floatstone. It's loads. Floatstone is a really widely played card at the moment. And it's going away. Now, it gives free retreat to any Pokemon. Escape Board doesn't. Escape Board just reduces it by 1. That's not ideal. But it's better than the alternative. And that's kind of the point here. Yes, it only reduces it by 1, not none. But it's better than nothing. And that's what we've got when Floatstone rotates. We've got nothing. This is better than nothing. And it also allows you to retreat if you are asleep or paralyzed. And oh, wait. And that's kind of the point. When this is being played as much as I expect it to be, it's going to make Paralysis a lot less relevant. Plus, of course, everybody's playing many Guzma, which also works as a switch, i.e. gets around Paralysis. And it's not as if Ace Roll is seeing no play at all at the moment, and that gets around Paralysis. That's a bit of an issue, to be perfectly honest with you. Now, in terms of the poison, poison is good. It puts 1 damage counter on between turns. This puts 3 on, which means at the end of your turn, 3 damage counters for poison. Then at the end of your opponent's turn, 3 damage counters for poison. Then at the end of your turn, 3 damage counters for poison, and so on and so forth until your opponent gets out the active or gets KO'd. And it's not just 3 of these. We can go further. Now, in Expanded, we've got Verbank City Gym, and that's a bit good. Puts it from 3 up to 5. But we still got Survivor. Survivor, everyone on the bench is an extra 1 for poison. Now, Dustox really is a bench-sitting Pokemon, so if you start kind of chucking in a whole bunch of Viper as well, your bench is going to get very, very full very, very quickly. But that aside, it is absolutely something which is worth having a play around with. It is something which I think is going to do a fair amount of damage here, because the Paralysis combined with the Poison, if they don't get out the active, they don't just miss a turn of attacking. They miss a turn of attacking, and they're taking essentially minimum 9 damage counters, because they take 3 damage counters after your turn, then it goes to their turn, but they can't get out the active, they take another 3 damage counters, and then at the end of your turn, they take another 3, so that's minimum 9. It is punishing, and I know we've got stuff like a Skateboard Guzma Ace Roller that can get them out of the active, but they need to get out the active super, super quickly, or this is going to hurt them very, very badly. Now, there's 2 cards that would really polish off this combo nicely. One of them we can use in Expanded, one of them we can't. Both Japan can use. The one we can't is Forest of Giant Plants. Forest of Giant Plants allows you to evolve up as quickly as you like, and you can see why this would be done with Forest of Giant Plants. If we still have Forest of Giant Plants in the format, we could get Dustox going turn 1, because you could evolve straight away, put Force of Viper on the bench, and be doing 70 damage before our opponent's even drawn a card. Things like 70 HP Grubbin and Trubbish would literally be KO'd before your opponent got a chance to draw a card. With Forest of Giant Plants, this would be dumb. In Japan, they have that. And okay, there's plenty of stuff like Buzzwole that's got high HP, but with Forest of Giant Plants, and like I keep saying, they've got that in Japan standard format, this is actually looking kind of cool. The other card we really want with this is Devolution Spray. Devolution Spray means you can devolve down, and then you can immediately evolve up again to get another poison and another lot of paralysis. Now, you only need to do this once per turn, but it means that you can just reuse it and off you go, and essentially here, you'd be able to paralyze and poison every turn. Again, this would be much better with Forest of Giant Plants, because otherwise it's either turn 3 or you're using Rare Candy. But then when you use Rare Candy, you devolve, and then you need another Rare Candy next turn, and that's getting kind of awkward here. So there's no denying that the ability is great. It's just whether it's quite great enough, given that it is a stage 2. And it's not like we've not had abilities like this before. We had Servine a little while ago that could paralyze on a coin flip when it evolved up, but was in a format where we did have Forest of Giant Plants, and then Raichu came along in Burning Shadow, and it was all like, coin flip? Why do we want a coin flip for? Automatic paralysis. Then, of course, that did get played with Devolution Spray and the Heat Maul, which could then get that Devolution Spray back every turn to get a constant paralysis lock. And it was actually kind of fun. It saw a little bit of play here and there. And we also saw Raichu played with Stoutland. Stoutland being when it was in the active, your opponent wasn't able to play any supporter cards, and then you would sit there paralysing them every turn while stopping them using supporter cards, and it would be hilarious. Abilities like this have seen play and have been good, and this is better than Raichu because it's paralysis plus treble poison. Although I suppose if Raichu, your opponent couldn't ace roll because there was no damage, with this they could. But I just worry that being a stage 2 is going to be a bit too much. Now, there is an attack here. It's a fairly standard grass colorless 70 damage, and it's actually quite nice, because with a choice band you're doing 200. There's a KO on Lapras and Lycanroc, which are the 2 you most want to get a KO with. And we can use counter energy here if you're behind on prizes to get it going. And we've got counter gain here, whereby if you're behind on prizes you attach it and it reduces the energy cost by 1, so it's just 1 grass energy. Problem is, if you use counter gain, you can't use choice band, and you need choice band to do enough damage, so really here this is counter energy. But that's alright. Getting a one-hit kill on a Lycanroc or a Lapras for a counter energy sounds good to me. The reason we play Dustox is the ability, and that's the reason the majority of this video has been concerning the ability. But that's not to say this isn't a useful attack. And if you're playing it and you're playing either counter energy or grass energy, I can see there will be games where this really comes in handy, because it's a low energy cost to KO 2 of the most prevalent GXs in the format. I'll take that, ladies and gentlemen. I will take that all day long. For the ability alone, I'm giving this between 3 and 4 Wassies. I think there is a lot of potential here, and I think the combination of the Paralysis with the treble poison, especially when you bring in stuff like Viper, is huge. I think if you're in Japan and you've got Devolution Spray and Forest of Giant Plants, it's significantly better, but I expect this to see some play. I expect people to be testing this, playing around with it, trying to make it work, and maybe it will, maybe it won't. But people are certainly going to be playing around with it. It's one of those abilities that's so interesting, you just can't ignore it. But I want to know what you think about this, so let me know in the comment section. Go nuts, be nice. Make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at the Wassy, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCGRadio. If you want to support the channel and get some bonus podcasts and all of that, then head on over to patreon.com/PTCGRadio, where you can do just that. But by far the most important thing, as always, is to look after yourselves until next time. Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.